Imagine holding a $5 bill in your hand. It's crisp, new, reliable, or so you think. You walk into a store to buy a gallon of paint priced at $2.98. That's how the story begins. But look around today. Can you name a place in America where paint still costs that little? Probably not. And yet, this simple image remains burned into our collective memory. Money as stable, predictable, and grounded in logic. But here's the truth most never dare to confront. Money is not what we were taught it is. It's not a number. It's not a paycheck. It's not even security. Money is energy. And like all forms of energy, it flows or it flees. It resonates or it resists. And you, dear reader, are the tuning fork. This may sound poetic, but it's not metaphor. It's quantum physics. Studies from institutions like Princeton's Pear Lab have long explored how human consciousness can subtly influence random systems, suggesting that our minds are not passive observers but active participants in the shaping of reality. The observer effect, foundational in quantum theory, tells us that the mere act of observing changes the behavior of particles. If particles respond to attention, why wouldn't wealth? What if your financial condition isn't just the outcome of your effort or education but of your frequency, your internal state, belief patterns, and emotional charge? Consider this: 2 men work the same job, for the same hours with equal skill. One thrives, the other just gets by. Why? It's not luck. It's alignment. One operates from overflow. He believes he is worthy of abundance, feels safe receiving it, and expects it. The other? He believes money is hard to get, that he must earn it through pain or prove he deserves it by struggle. And the universe, in all its intricate design, reflects those inner beliefs like a mirror. This isn't mysticism. This is neuropsychology. Neuroscientist Dr. Joe Dispenza has shown how thought patterns, repeated with emotional intensity, create lasting neural pathways that influence behavior, biology, and even perception of possibility. The subconscious brain is not just a passive recorder of life, it is the scriptwriter. If, growing up, you heard phrases like "money doesn't grow on trees" or "we can't afford that," those were not just words. They were codes written into your nervous system. They trained your body to feel unsafe around wealth, to flinch at spending, to associate abundance with danger. The body keeps score. Every time you felt scarcity, your brain fired warning signals. Your heartbeat quickened. Cortisol surged. Over time, this became a pattern, a loop, and now your financial life may simply be your subconscious survival script repeating itself. But here's the empowering part. What was programmed can be reprogrammed. You are not too old. Your brain retains plasticity well into your 80s. New beliefs, if felt and reinforced, can carve new neural trails. Starts by asking, what do I believe about money? Do I trust it? Or do I chase it? Do I spend with fear or with intention? These questions matter. Your answers shape your frequency, and your frequency determines your financial experience. Think of it like gardening. Your beliefs are the soil. Your emotions are the water. Your thoughts, the sunlight. You cannot grow roses in poisoned ground. To allow abundance, you must first cleanse the inner field. One practical way to begin. Every morning, place your hand on your heart and speak aloud. I am safe to receive. I allow abundance. I trust the flow. It may feel odd at first. That's okay. The subconscious doesn't respond to logic. It responds to repetition, emotion, and embodiment. Now take it further. Track your reactions to money in everyday life. When you pay for something, do you feel a pinch or a piece? That moment is not trivial. It is a portal. Rewrite it. Spend with gratitude, even on small things. Bless the transaction. Thank the money for serving you and release it with faith that more is coming. Why? Because you are training your body to relax around wealth. A relaxed nervous system is a receptive nervous system. Money has no ears, no eyes, no will of its own. But it mirrors yours. It is attracted to certainty, repelled by fear, drawn to gratitude, scattered by shame. If you walk around believing, I never have enough, the universe aligns with your assumption. But if you walk, breathe, and speak as someone who knows they are supported by a generous field of possibility, then wealth begins to reflect that confidence. And so, the first shift is not in your budget, your job, or your bank. It is in your body, in the story you tell yourself before bed, in the quiet moments when no one is watching, because that's where the real magic begins. Not in Wall Street, but in your heartbeat. Not in government policy, but in your personal philosophy. Not in waiting, but in choosing to believe, again and again, that it is not too late to shift, to rewire, to rise. You are not a statistic. You are not a product of your past. You are a living, breathing transmitter. So start tuning your frequency like it matters, because it does. Picture a radio, the kind you grew up with, sitting quietly on the kitchen counter. It looks simple, harmless, even outdated. But inside that humble box, something remarkable is happening. Frequencies are being received and translated into sound. Twist the dial a fraction and the station changes. A new voice, a new song, a new message. That's all it takes. One small shift. Your financial reality works the same way. You are always tuned into a frequency, whether you realize it or not. That frequency is not determined by your age, your income, or your zip code. It is set by your inner world, your beliefs, emotions, and expectations. Right now, you are broadcasting either lack or flow, scarcity or sufficiency, resistance or receptivity. And whichever station you're locked into, life is responding to it. This is not philosophy alone. It is physics, it is biology, it is neuroscience. At the quantum level, everything is energy. You, me, the dollar bill in your pocket, and even the idea of wealth itself. Scientists like Max Planck and Niels Bohr revealed over a century ago that particles are not solid things. They are packets of vibrating possibility. Money, then, is not a solid object either. It is a symbol, a shared belief, a structure built on trust and emotion. And like all energy, it responds to the vibrational field around it. In practical terms, this means your thoughts about money, your emotions as you touch it, your habits around saving or spending, are all affecting whether it comes to you or runs away. Let's bring it closer to home. Think of two neighbors, both retired, both receiving Social Security, both living modestly. But one wakes up each morning feeling anxious, tight, worried about what might go wrong. The fridge breaking, a medical bill, the market dipping. The other starts his day in calm reflection, gives thanks for what he has, and speaks with confidence about what is yet to come. These two men are sending out two completely different frequencies into the field of possibility. And studies in psychoneuroimmunology have shown that emotions such as gratitude and trust not only improve health but create measurable changes in heart rate variability, cortisol levels, and brain coherence. This coherence is not abstract, it creates order not just in your biology, but in your experience of reality. The grateful man sees opportunities. The anxious one sees threats. The energy field reflects back the dominant signal. You may ask, but isn't this just positive thinking in disguise? The answer is no. This is not about pretending to feel good. It is about choosing to practice a new emotional habit until it becomes a lived reality. Dr. Bruce Lipton, a former cell biologist at Stanford, has demonstrated that our beliefs directly influence our cellular biology. If you believe the world is dangerous, your body prepares for attack. If you believe wealth is rare, your nervous system contracts, hoards, and repels the very abundance it says it wants. That's not a judgment. It's a survival mechanism. Your subconscious is not trying to punish you, it's trying to protect you. But the problem is, it's running on old data, old stories, old wounds that were never yours to begin with. Many of us inherited our money stories from parents who lived through war, recession, or job insecurity. They didn't mean to pass on fear. They were trying to prepare us. But survival is not the same as thriving. And if we never question the channel we're tuned into, we live out someone else's limitations as if they were truth. It's like driving with a GPS from 1972. The map is wrong. The roads have changed. And you're still wondering why you keep hitting dead ends. So what do we do? First, awareness. Begin to notice the signals you're sending. When you spend money, do you tighten your chest? When you check your bank account, do you feel dread or detachment? These are not minor sensations. They are clues to your frequency. Second, upgrade your language. Speak as someone who trusts the flow. Instead of saying, I can't afford it, Try, it's not aligned with my current priorities. That simple change shifts your power from victimhood to choice. Third, build rituals of reconnection. Every time you receive income, no matter how small, pause. Say thank you aloud. Place your hand on your heart. Remind yourself, money is moving because I am open to receive. These rituals are not childish. They are neurological anchors that build new pathways of safety and trust. And lastly, forgive the past. Forgive yourself for the years of fear, for the missed chances, for the shame you've carried. Money is not your enemy. It's a mirror. And now, with new eyes and a clearer signal, you get to retune your life. So turn that dial. Tune into flow. Not by accident, but by intention. Because the station of abundance has always been playing. You simply have to learn how to listen. Think of a river. Flowing, constant, purposeful. Water doesn't ask for permission to move, nor does it cling to the shore in fear of running dry. It moves because movement is its nature. Money, in its truest form, was always meant to behave the same way. The word currency itself comes from the Latin currere, meaning to run or to flow. Somewhere along the path of civilization, however, we stopped treating money like a river and started treating it like a cage. We froze it in banks, clutched it in panic, built systems that punished flow and rewarded stagnation. But nature does not bless what does not move. Just as a still pond breeds decay while a moving stream brings life, so too does wealth stagnate in fear and flourish in circulation. This is not just poetic theory. It's physiology and economics. Studies in behavioral science, including work from Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman, show that our fear of loss is neurologically more powerful than our joy of gain. That's why people hoard in recessions, why they hold back even when they have enough. But here's the irony. The very act of hoarding out of fear sends a signal to the brain and body that there is danger. Cortisol rises, heart rate variability drops, and the nervous system shifts into fight or flight. In this state, creativity contracts, vision narrows, and possibilities vanish. We don't just fear scarcity, we create it through our reaction to it. On the flip side, the Institute of HeartMath has documented that emotional states like appreciation and trust create coherence between the brain and the heart, allowing for clarity of thought and improved decision-making. When you feel safe, your body opens. When your body opens, life opens. Let's ground this in something familiar. Think of the Great Depression. Yes, it was a time of financial hardship, but part of what deepened the crisis was the panic itself. Bank runs weren't caused by a lack of actual cash, but by a collective belief that none was safe. People withdrew, businesses shut down, and the very fabric of the economy collapsed under the weight of belief, not fact. Fast forward to today. We live in one of the most materially abundant nations in history, yet surveys from the American Psychological Association consistently find that money is the #1 source of stress, especially among older adults. Why? Because we were taught to view money as finite, as hard to get and easy to lose, as something only the lucky or ruthless get to hold. That belief, not the actual dollars, becomes the prison. But what if you could escape it? What if, instead of fearing loss, you trained your system to trust the flow? This isn't theory, it's a trainable skill. Neuroscience calls it neuroplasticity. Your brain can be rewired to respond differently, not just with words but with rituals. So try this. The next time you spend money on groceries, a gift, a small treat, pause before and after. Before, breathe in deeply and silently say, "This money is moving, and it will return multiplied." After, give thanks. Not a rushed thank you, but a full, felt gratitude. That small act changes your chemical response. It moves you from contraction into trust. And trust is magnetic. Now take it further. Dedicate a portion of your income, not out of guilt, but as a statement to what I call sacred circulation. It could be $5 a week given anonymously. Could be a surprise tip. Could be paying for a stranger's coffee. But here's the key. Do it not to be good, but to prove to yourself that you trust the river. That you are not afraid to let go. That money, like water, returns to those who do not block it. This is not blind optimism. It is spiritual economics, and it's echoed in the world's oldest wisdom traditions. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu writes, "The more you give to others, the more you have." In the Gospel of Luke, "Give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." These are not religious slogans. They are energetic principles written in metaphor, pointing to the same truth. The law of flow governs all life. If you want proof, look at nature. Trees do not cling to their leaves in fear of winter. They let them go, trusting spring will come. The sun does not ration its light. Rivers do not negotiate with rocks. Movement is embedded into everything that lives. So why would money be the exception? The only thing stopping the flow is not the system, not your age, not the government. It is the internal belief that you must hold on tightly or it will disappear. But holding on from fear sends the opposite signal to the field of possibility. Says, "I don't trust. I don't believe more is coming." And life responds in kind. So let's reverse it. Begin small. Trust bigger. Speak as if money is a river. Act as if abundance is a birthright. Let every financial interaction become a prayer, a statement, a signal. Replace the clenched fist with an open palm. Replace hoarding with circulation. Replace worry with wonder. And above all, remember this. You were not made to chase money. You were made to carry it like a current. With reverence. With rhythm. With grace. Let it move and it will return. Let it flow and you will rise. There is a lie so old, so deeply ingrained in our culture, that most people carry it in their bones without ever realizing it. The belief that struggle is noble and that suffering is the price of success. From the factory floors of the industrial age to the neatly trimmed suburban lawns of post-war America, we were taught to measure worth by how hard we worked, how little we asked for, and how much we could endure. But just because a story is familiar does not make it true. You were not born to shrink in order to survive. You were born to expand, to thrive, to experience wealth not as a reward for pain but as a natural outcome of alignment. Neuroscience now confirms what ancient mystics always knew. Your subconscious beliefs shape your reality more than your conscious effort ever will. According to research from the National Science Foundation, up to 95% of your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are driven by unconscious programming. That means the majority of your financial life is not controlled by your to-do list, but by scripts you didn't even choose, scripts often written before you could speak. Take a moment to remember how money was spoken about in your home growing up. Was it a source of tension? Was it tied to fear or shame? Perhaps you heard phrases like, "We can't afford that," or "Money doesn't grow on trees." These weren't just casual remarks. They were emotional imprints. Each time you witnessed stress around money, your nervous system received a message. Money is dangerous, unpredictable, something to be feared. Over time, your body began to associate financial gain with emotional risk. And now, even decades later, even if your bank account has changed, the imprint remains. This is why, despite experience and wisdom, many people still find themselves stuck in cycles of just enough, or watching wealth slip through their fingers. It is not a character flaw. It is a biological response. The body, like the mind, clings to the familiar. And if scarcity is what feels familiar, then abundance, even if desired, can feel unsafe. But you can change this. You are not locked into your old story. The brain's capacity for neuroplasticity means that new beliefs, if practiced consistently and emotionally, can become new defaults. Begin by observing how you respond to abundance. When a check arrives, do you brace yourself for something to go wrong? When you consider raising your prices or asking for more, do you feel guilt rise in your throat? These reactions are signals from an outdated internal program. Rather than resisting them, meet them with curiosity. Say to yourself, "This is not who I am. This is who I was taught to be." Then gently begin to install a new narrative. One that says, "I am safe to receive. I am allowed to expand. I can thrive without guilt." This shift is not just mental, it is physiological. When you allow yourself to feel wealthy, not just in possessions, but in peace, time, choice, your body shifts from survival mode to receptivity. The parasympathetic nervous system activates. The heart rate slows. Digestion improves. Creativity flows. As Dr. Candace Pert demonstrated in her research on neuropeptides, emotions are not abstract. They are chemical signals that influence every cell in the body. When you feel abundant, your entire system begins to behave as if abundance is already present. And that state, more than any strategy, is what draws wealth in. Consider Eric, a man who might remind you of someone you know. A skilled plumber, respected in his community, always showing up early, always doing the job right. But behind his competence is a quiet exhaustion. Not just from labor, but from a belief he cannot name. That to be a good man means to suffer quietly. That charging more would make him greedy. That ease is dangerous. These are not just thoughts. They are inherited emotional codes. And until he rewrites them, no amount of hard work will bring lasting change. This is the unspoken story of so many, outwardly capable, inwardly blocked. And it doesn't have to stay that way. You begin the rewrite not by working harder, but by telling a new truth in small, daily ways. Every time you catch yourself saying, "I can't," replace it with, "I am learning to." When you feel fear around receiving, say, "I am safe now." These are not empty affirmations. They are commands to the subconscious, and the subconscious does not respond to logic, it responds to repetition and feeling. So feel it. Say it with your chest. Say it until your body believes it. You have lived long enough to know that real change comes from within. So now, give yourself permission to stop worshiping the grind. To stop measuring your worth by how much you endure. To stop believing that money is a reward for pain. It isn't. It is a response to energy. And when you shift your energy from struggle to trust, from scarcity to sufficiency, from fear to allowing, the entire system begins to change. Not by magic, but by design. Your nervous system is listening. Your cells are listening. The field around you is listening. So speak with power. Act with trust. Receive with grace. You were not built for the chase. You were built for the flow. The truth is this. Knowledge does not change you unless it becomes embodied, unless it is lived through your rituals, your breath, your choices. Insight without action is like light without heat, and in the realm of money, it is not enough to think differently, you must live differently. You must build a new architecture around your energy and your habits, so the frequency of abundance has a place to land and stay. Science supports this with startling clarity. The field of epigenetics, pioneered by Dr. Bruce Lipton, shows us that our behavior, our environment, and our rituals can turn genes on or off. Your biology is not fixed. You are not a victim of your past. But to create new outcomes, your body must experience safety around wealth. Not just once, but again and again until safety becomes your baseline, not fear. This is where ritual comes in. Not superstition, but structure. Practical, physical acts that send a message to your nervous system and to the field of reality. I am no longer in survival. I am ready to receive. Begin your morning with stillness. Before the noise of the world enters, take one breath deeper than usual. Place your feet flat on the floor, and with your hand on your chest, speak aloud. I command my energy back. I close every loop leaking my power. I am safe to receive. These are not poetic gestures. They are neurobiological commands. The act of speaking while touching the heart engages both hemispheres of the brain and activates the vagus nerve, which regulates the parasympathetic state. In simpler terms, this calms the body, reduces stress hormones, and opens your field to receive. This isn't magic. This is applied neuroscience. Now carry that energy into how you move through the day. Move with value. Whether you're meeting someone, doing chores, or making a phone call, carry yourself as if your time is sacred. Because it is. The behavioral economist Dan Ariely found that people value experiences more when they assign meaning to their time. So when you raise your standards, when you say no to draining conversations or finally raise your rates, you are not just changing your income. You are teaching your subconscious that your energy matters, that you are not available for depletion anymore. Words matter. Begin to speak the language of wealth, not from delusion, but from direction. Instead of saying, "I can't afford it," say, "I choose differently right now." Instead of, "I hope things get better," say, Wealth is finding me now. Why? Because your subconscious cannot distinguish between reality and repetition. In a study by Harvard psychologists, it was shown that mental rehearsal activates the same neural pathways as physical rehearsal. That means speaking abundance, even if it feels unfamiliar at first, is sculpting new grooves into your mind. Grooves where wealth can eventually flow with ease. Your environment is not neutral. It reflects and reinforces your beliefs. A cluttered home mirrors a cluttered mind. A neglected space leaks energy. So clean it like you're preparing to receive royalty. Because you are. Burn something sacred. Light a candle. Open windows. Let life move through your space. Researchers at Princeton University found that physical clutter competes for your attention and reduces performance and clarity. By tidying your space, you are not just organizing objects. You are clearing mental and emotional congestion. And when the day ends, do not collapse into sleep unconsciously. Use that sacred moment when the mind is softest, most impressionable, to rewire your relationship with wealth. Before you drift, close your eyes and say, I did enough today. I trust the process. I release control. I receive in my rest. Then, visualize yourself not in extravagance but in ease. Waking slowly, breathing deeply, paying with confidence, giving with joy, not needing money because you are aligned with it. Let that image soak into your bones. Sleep is the bridge to the subconscious. What you feel as true before sleep becomes the emotional seed planted into your inner soil. It is not about pretending. It is about training. You are not becoming someone else. You are returning to the version of yourself that was never afraid, never ashamed, never small. You do not need to suffer to be worthy. You do not need to exhaust yourself to receive. These rituals are not about becoming perfect. They are about becoming present. You have lived enough years to know that the external world rarely changes unless the inner world shifts first. So begin with small steps, taken daily, done with presence and intention. These are not chores. These are signals to life itself. Show up for yourself like someone who believes again, like someone who trusts again, and watch, slowly at first and then suddenly, how the world begins to respond. There is a kind of poverty that cannot be seen in a bank account, a quiet erosion that happens not through loss of income but through the inability to recognize the wealth that is already moving through your life. True abundance is not measured in dollars alone. It shows up in the time you still have, in the breath you just took, in the stranger who smiled at you for no reason, in the disaster that never happened, and in the stillness that protected you without your knowing. Yet most people miss it because they have been trained to only recognize one form of wealth, cash. This is a spiritual blindness, and it is far more dangerous than financial lack, because what you fail to recognize you cannot receive, and what you ignore contracts. The science of perception tells us that we do not see with our eyes alone. The brain filters experience through expectation. In studies at the University of Pennsylvania, Dr. Anjan Chatterjee has shown that our brains will literally ignore stimuli that do not match our beliefs. If you believe abundance only arrives as a check or a raise, then you are blind to the thousands of ways life is already blessing you, every single day. And this matters deeply because what you notice, you multiply. Attention is a form of energy, and energy feeds form. When you begin to track not just dollars, but every form of abundance, time saved, kindness given, burdens lifted, you are telling your subconscious that you are already in the field of receiving. This is not wishful thinking. It is a neurological retraining. Your brain, specifically the reticular activating system, works like a lens, filtering billions of bits of information down to what you believe is relevant. When you begin to focus on invisible wealth, you widen that lens. You shift from contraction to expansion. And in doing so, you open the doorway to material wealth, because now the system recognizes you as someone who can hold more. Let us take this idea further. Imagine someone receives a large sum of money, a lottery win, a lawsuit payout, a major inheritance. Statistically, the vast majority of these people lose the money within 5 years. This is not due to ignorance or indulgence alone. It is a phenomenon known in psychology as a mismatch between external gain and internal identity. If the person receiving the money has a subconscious belief that wealth is unsafe, undeserved, or temporary, they will unconsciously sabotage it. Their nervous system will react to the expansion as a threat. They will overspend, freeze in fear, or attract chaos to restore the familiar state of scarcity. This is not a theory. It has been tracked across athletes, celebrities, and everyday people alike. But it also means that if you shift your identity first, if you build the capacity to see and hold invisible wealth, the visible forms will follow and stay. So how do you build this inner capacity? Begin by keeping a daily record of non-monetary abundance. Write down 3 things that came to you without effort. Maybe someone held the door open. Maybe your body felt strong today. Maybe your grandchild called just to say hello. These are not small things. They are signals from life that you are supported. They are whispers of wealth. As you record them, say aloud, I receive this. I honor this. I am available for more. Over time, this practice rewires your perception. You move from waiting to witnessing, and witnessing is the first step to receiving. Another powerful practice is the conscious circulation of money. Not from fear, not out of duty, but from overflow. Give a small amount, not as charity but as declaration. Leave a tip with a blessing. Pay for someone behind you in line. Put a folded bill in an envelope and write "thank you" on it. Doing this sends a strong message to your field. I trust the flow. I am not in lack. This breaks the spell of fear and scarcity and restores movement. As Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches, the body responds to these symbolic acts faster than to thought alone. Action with intention carries the greatest transformative power. And finally, speak to money as if it were listening, because on some level it is. Matter responds to consciousness. The double-slit experiment in quantum physics proved this, that the way we observe changes what we see. So observe differently, speak differently. Replace phrases like, I'm broke, or it's not enough with money flows through me, and I am supported in all forms. Speak even before you believe. Speak because you are becoming. The subconscious cannot tell the difference between truth and repetition. What you repeat with emotion, it accepts as fact. So flood it with the truth you want to live. You were not born to fear money. You were not born to chase it. You were born to recognize its many faces, to carry it with peace, and to move it with wisdom. This is not greed. This is alignment. This is remembering that you are not a beggar at the gates of life, but a co-creator standing in the center of a field that listens, that responds, and that is waiting for your signal. Start sending the right one, and watch what happens.